Hello there, everyone. Welcome. Welcome to Coffee Time Career Chat with Patricia Hayes. And if you're joining for the first time, so excited to have you here. Again, my name is Patricia Hayes. I am an executive advisor, empowerment coach, and authentic networking strategist, which means I like to work with folks who are forward thinking, goal oriented, but also like to work in authentic ways with purpose, right? And I help you align your relationships professionally with those goals, with that purpose, and making sure that you are achieving your at your highest level. So there we are. It's Networking Wednesday. So, I always try to talk about a topic that's related to networking. And I just felt like it's appropriate considering the times that we talk about reevaluating your professional relationships during challenging times, which is now in these here United States. If you are watching from abroad, you may not be dealing with what we're dealing with socially and politically. However, challenging times can mean different things. So use what you can, chunk the rest for now, and then circle back around if you should need it again. Literally, the first three things that I have here in my notes are to breathe, pause, and reflect. And I say that because there's so much swirling around right now that literally I think some people have forgotten that we literally need to take some deep breaths and let things settle in, and then take a deliberate pause so that we can actually think and reflect on what's going on. It's completely natural to be reactive in the moment, to respond in the moment, and all of that. But if you are concerned about how the elections have turned out, if you're concerned about how it's going to affect your career or how it's going to affect your business, then it's going to be really important for you to engage in some high quality reflection time so that you can prepare for what may come and what actually comes. Okay. That is across the spectrum, because regardless of your politics, everything that's happened is going to affect all of us in our day-to-day living and in our life, and particularly our work and our business. So I thought it was appropriate to chat about networking and building those professional relationships during times such as these, and really reevaluating. Because here's the thing, the reality is most of the time we don't dig into what our network and our professional relationships look like until a crisis hits. And that's unfortunate, because that means that we often are responding in fear, or is responding, much more actually is reacting as opposed to giving any deep thought or responding. So I'm going to try and help give you some guidelines to help you through this process. And if you should need additional help or support, then DM me and we can talk about that in depth of what that looks like. So beyond the politics of things, this really is the reminder that this is a wake-up call that has finally, come, and the bell is ringing, right? No more hitting the snooze button, on your relationships, because you know how it is when that alarm goes off and we're like, yeah, I don't feel like dealing. I'm not ready to get up just yet. And you hit that snooze button maybe once, twice, three times. Well, guess what? No, there's no more time for hitting the snooze button when it comes to your professional relationships and your network as they impact your career and or your business during these times. So it's time to get up, right? It is time to get up and get to work, because it does involve some work. If you really want to make sure that you maintain some strong relationships that are relevant to you and what you do today, then it's time for you to engage and to make an effort to make sure that they remain that way. Okay. The first thing I will say is something I've already hinted at, which is this is not the time for rash decisions that are made in anger. Okay. But it's time for thoughtful ones that are made strategically. And you guys know how strongly I feel about being strategic and all of those things, but it really is important. And I'm saying that not because I'm saying that you're going to be um, uh, questioning your values or um, acting in acting contrary to them. That's not what I'm saying at all. I am saying that when you make a decision and how you handle a relationship right now in these days, it's going to matter because it's likely that it's going to shift permanently. And that's why I say it's so important to do this and engage in this process very thoughtfully, very strategically, because these are the days and the times where once that relationship's gone, it's gone. And guess what? Some of us don't have a problem cutting, cutting off a relationship, burning that bridge. Others, it takes more time, it takes more thought, it takes more work. And so I'm encouraging you to allow yourself to engage in that. There are a few different things to think about when you're considering reevaluating those relationships that you are currently in, right? So this is not, maybe the next set of questions will help you with acknowledging ones for the future, but these are to acknowledge the relationship that you currently have. And a few of the factors that are going to weigh into that are some of these things. First of all, like when and where you met, because those things matter, right? If you met professionally at a conference versus professionally at a job that or a organization where you both worked at, or maybe you met through mutual friends. And so it started more as a friendship that built up as a professional relationship as well. There's so many factors to that, right? Okay. So where and when matters. When for sure, because if you just started the relationship, that's going to change or shift or be impacted versus if we're talking about one that's been in existence for 20 years. Okay. So those things do matter. All right. Another factor is the length of the relationship. So I made a just comment about that, which is, if you've known each other for 15 or 20 years, then how you approach the continuation of it may differ than someone that you just met a few months ago, where there's not that depth, which gets me to the third factor, the depth of the relationship. Because guess what? There's a presumption that because you've known someone a long time, that there's depth to that. And that is not always true. Okay. You can know someone and have a long-term acquaintance who that's it. They're acquaintance. You know each other socially, perhaps. You have some, mutual friends. And that's as far as it goes versus someone you've known for perhaps a long time, but maybe not. But because of the time you've invested in the relationship and nurturing it and growing it and connecting up with each other, that there's more depth to that relationship. I have several of those, particularly those that were developed during the course of 2020, 2021. And how that changes, right? Because there was so much going on during that time. Perhaps some relationships were developing very quickly and gaining some depth because we were seeking camaraderie and support across, city lines, state lines, international lines. I have developed some great friendships and professional relationships with folks who are not even in the United States as a result of that time. So think about the depth of the relationship. Another factor, most common one, is common connections, right? So this is that we know mutual people, we have relationships with similar folks or groups of people. And those common connections matter because that also is going to impact how you relate, not just with this one person, but perhaps with the remainder of them. So it's important to give consideration to that. So there's lots of factors, but the ones that I've brought up here that are kind of the biggies here are where and when you met, the length of the relationship, the depth of the relationship, and common connections that you have. Okay, that said, now here are going to be 5 questions, and you're probably going to want to write these down. You can always come back because you can come back and watch the replay, but grab a pen because there are 5 questions that I want you to write down for consideration during your reflection time when you're going through these various relationships and trying to figure out, where are we and where are we going, if anywhere. The first is, what is the alignment of the work and the values that you share today? Because here's the thing. You couldn't have known someone 15, 20 years ago, and you could have been like this, like super close and tight. However, things change over time, as what's going on in the world around us has shown us. And those are things that might need to be taken into consideration now, which is there still alignment in the work that you do? Is there still shared values today? Not but from what happened before or what existed before, but from today. All right, that's the first question. The second question is whether the relationship has naturally run its course. This is a tough one because, especially again, the longer the relationship, the more difficult this is, because you were like, well, we were really close, and it doesn't, it's not that our politics have shifted or that we don't, like some of the same things. It's just that naturally, you've grown apart. You've gone in different directions professionally, perhaps. Someone may have moved across the country or out of the country. Maybe someone has moved further along in their family development versus someone who's not. Those things happen. I remember, when I was much younger, and I say that because it's still true today, but it was really hard for me to acknowledge when a relationship had just run its course. There wasn't something wrong. There wasn't something bad that had happened. It was just the shift had happened. And so that's when it's another one of those times when it's perhaps time to let it go and just move along. And there are also those times when it's more difficult because something has gone wrong. There has been a shift in alignment or in our values or in how we approach relationship building, whatever. And those are hard to let go of as well. But it's one of those things where you actually sit down and have to literally have a little chat with yourself about where am I with this person or these group of people right now, and has it run its course? And if it is, there doesn't have to be some big, huge fanfare. You just kind of know that you've moved on and you're going to let that move on and you're going to let it just quietly go away. Okay? That is the second question. Third question, I labeled it and I put distance versus depth. And I'm going to explain because it's not just physical distance, but over time. So again, is it a matter of, hey, we've known each other a little while, or we're not really that close, but we hang out for, specific social reasons, right? Versus someone that you may not see as much, but the depth of the relationship is such that you cannot talk, it could be that you don't talk for like months. And when you do, you've picked up right where you left off and you're able to get to the meat of things. This matters, right? Because sometimes, again, when you're looking to reevaluate and trying to pull things together for whatever's to come, that maybe you need to focus a little bit more on those depth relationships versus the ones that are more superficial, dare I say. And so they're ones that you just kind of keep at a distance. They're not, huge or relevant like all the time. But they're ones that are great to be like, hey, I'm going to be dropping, in for a meeting in Los Angeles. I'm going to give them a ring. You meet for dinner and that's kind of it. And then you move back along, right? There are those things that happen, right? So just think about that when you're looking at evaluating these professional relationships. Future growth. Can't have a conversation about it without thinking about what's the future of this relationship potentially. Is there room for growth there? Because if there is, and it's still aligned with your work, with your career, with your values today and where you see yourself moving, then that's something to think about versus, I'm not sure if I'm really willing to work on this. I don't know that I see that there's some growth potential here, right? And those are ones that you can nip in the bud pretty quickly. I've done that. I've gone to lunch with a couple of people before and I knew it was not there. It was just like, yeah, no, it was just a miss. So, maybe I keep them in the thing, or maybe eventually I just go ahead and take them out of my contact list. And because it just never worked. This is a good time to look at those. Okay. And then lastly, the last question is, are you willing to make the effort to nurture the relationship? This is super important because like I said, you have to engage and make an effort. And if you really want a relationship to continue over time, to develop over time, to so that it stays in alignment with your work, with your values, then it's going to require some consistency and some work across. Now, you cannot nurture 200 relationships at the same level at the same time. That's not going to happen. That's not what I mean. There are folks that come and go through your daily life versus those that you see a couple of times a month, let's say, or those that you see a few times a year. But the point is, are you willing to nurture them at the level that is necessary to maintain the relationship over time? For example, my mentor has known me since I was 20 years old. She's out of state. She's been out of the state from where I live for a long time now, decades. She's back on the East Coast. And yet, all this time, we have maintained our relationship. We talk probably at least once a year, like actual on the phone or something. We text or message each other. Or even if we don't, like I know she's watching because she'll pop on to one of my shows, or she'll pop on and like a post I'm watching. So I know she's watching and engaging. Those are things because that's how it's happened. But if I'm on the East Coast or if she's here in Texas, absolutely reach out, say, hey, I'm in town. Hope we can get together. But if not, it's cool. Just want to check in, let you know I'm thinking about you. Okay? Guess what? There are people who are right next door to us, office right next to us, or whatever, who don't do that. So that's what I'm saying. Is like, are you willing to put the effort in to nurture the relationship for the long haul? because that matters. Okay? And I know that was a lot in a short period of time. So I'd love to hear from you, get your thoughts on that. If you need a little bit more, let me know. But if you really do need support in looking at these professional relationships that you have right now, looking at them in light of what's going on socially, politically, all of those things. A lot of people forget I worked in politics for decades. So I'm very sensitive to everything that's going on right now. Hit me up in the DMs. Maybe we schedule time for a strategic power hour, or if you really want to do a deep dive on how to strengthen and nurture these relationships for the long haul, then maybe we need to schedule some VIP time. Just let me know. All right. Take care. And I hope you have a fantastic day. Bye-bye.